What's up, you guys, and welcome back to the Coachable Podcast. I'm your host, Tori Gordon, and I'm so glad that you're here today for this episode where we're going to be jumping into understanding the importance of having a personal brand in 2022 and how you can start to grow your authority, your income, and your influence online. This is a very hot topic in the world that we live in today, and it's something that is very important to me as an online entrepreneur and business owner as well. And so I wanted to bring on one of, in my opinion, the best experts, the go-to experts in the space for understanding and developing personal brands. Now, this is a dear friend and mentor. AJ Vaden is here, who is the co-founder and CEO of Brand Builders Group in Nashville. If you've listened to this show before, you probably recognize the name Vaden because her husband, Rory Vaden, was also on this show a couple months back. If you haven't listened to that episode, all about how to grow your influence and income through personal branding, you definitely want to go check it out, and we'll link to that in the show notes or in the YouTube description if you're watching us there. Now, AJ is a powerhouse. She has co-founded and run 4+ businesses that have been 7- to 8-figure businesses that have focused on personal development and personal branding over the last few years. She's also the co-host of the influential Personal Brand podcast with Rory. And these two dynamic souls are not just amazing at what they do. They care about the heart and the mission behind what they do, and people like me, their clients, who want to make an impact on the world, that want to make a difference. And Brand Builders Group is dedicated to serving mission-driven influencers, leaders, authority figures, you name it. So if you have something that's important for you to share in the world, that you just feel like I know I have a purpose, I know I have a message that I want to get out, and I want people to know, and I have a story I want to tell, this is the episode for you to learn all about why not only that's important and that we need your voice, but how you can start to monetize it, how you can grow your audience and really make a lasting impact. So I'm excited to jump into this episode with AJ because we're specifically going to get down to the nitty-gritty around the statistical response from the US population and what they're saying about why personal branding is so important and how that's impacting their buying decisions. So without further ado, let's jump into this episode with AJ Vaden. I want to take a quick second to invite you for an opportunity to join me for an exclusive 75-minute virtual breathwork class. Now, if you've never heard of breathwork before, this is one of the most powerful modalities that you can use to relieve stress, become more creative, sleep better, and heal yourself from the inside out. Breathwork has absolutely changed my life. And if you want to hear that story, you can find an entire podcast episode called You Are the Drug, where I actually talked to my teacher, Samantha Skelly, who helped me go through a 7-month trauma-informed breathwork facilitator program. And I'm not the same after experiencing not just that program, but learning how to use my breath as a way to calm my nervous system, as a way to regulate when I'm going through stressful or overwhelming situations, and how to really just get out of my head and into my body. The best way I can describe it is the difference between knowing that you're okay, knowing that you're loved, and actually feeling your own love for the first time. And I struggled for so many years with body dysmorphia and feeling like I was crawling out of my skin, almost like wanting to trade my body in for another one, because I had such a level of discomfort feeling anything. Breathwork helped me to feel again and love again and connect with my intuition and my creativity and my sensuality in ways that I'd been so blocked from, I thought I would never be able to reconnect with. But breathwork helped me do that. And I want to offer you guys an opportunity to experience that for yourself. I've had such an enormous response from the clients that I work with around how transformational this has been for them. So I've decided to host a monthly breathwork class, and you can join me virtually from anywhere in the world. It's 75 minutes in a facilitated, safe space with other breathers. And all you have to do to join is go to my Stan store. You can find it on my Instagram or TikTok, link in bio. We'll also put the link in the show notes for you to make it super easy. It's only $25 to join. We have upcoming sessions in July on the 13th and August on the 11th, and we're trying this out. So if there is an enormous response, we're going to continue to add more classes, but this is our opportunity that we want to provide for you guys to join me in our upcoming class on July 13th. So go over to the link that's in the show notes for Breathwork, and you can sign up there. All right, without further ado, we'll jump back into the episode. AJ, welcome to the Coachable Podcast. I'm super excited to have you.
Oh my gosh, we're going to have a great time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've been together, at least like via Skype or Zoom or whatever. But, I was thinking back to when we first met in person, which was right around a year ago. I was sitting at the hotel where Brand Builders was hosting the first Brand DNA event, and I had literally signed up with you guys like 4 days before this event to I joined as a client, and they were like, we have an event in Nashville on Saturday, do you want to come? Or Friday. I was like, yes, I'm in. And I'm sitting there and I'm just in awe of what I'm learning and the energy and the other like-minded, mission-driven entrepreneurs that are there. And I'm just super inspired and taking it all in. And you're in the back of the room, doing your CEO thing, just watching over the whole thing. And Rory, who has been on the show and has been such a influence in my life over the last year, he's up there talking about, other clients that you guys have and people that have been, putting out book launches and speaking on stages and the amazing things that people are doing in the group. And I get an email with a book offer as I'm sitting in this event with you guys.
I remember.
And I think, okay, I guess I'm in the right place at the right time, because they know what to do, because I have absolutely no clue how to navigate this. And it was the first opportunity I'd ever had to, work with a publisher and get a book offer and all of that. And so I was thinking back to that and thinking this has been a year ago, and I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't had your guidance and your experience to help me on my path. And I think that's one of the most useful, beneficial things that I've gotten out of working with you guys over the last year, because you've walked the walk, you've walked the path, and you're showing other people like me and those that are listening to the show, maybe who don't know about Brand Builders yet, but there is a roadmap to making a bigger influence and a bigger impact, which is what you guys are all about. So just thank you for being here. Thank you for the way you've touched my life and my business and allowed me to grow and given me kind of a roadmap for what that looks like. And I'm excited to talk to you more about your journey and what Brand Builders is up to, and really just the whole culture and landscape of personal branding in general, because there's a lot of, I think, misconceptions and gray area around what is a personal brand? Do I have one? Do I want one? Do I need one? So what's your take on the landscape of personal branding at the moment in 2022?
Yeah, it's, first of all, thank you. Those are such kind words. Thank you so much. But it's funny. It's I don't believe in coincidence. I believe that life is orchestrated. It's just, do we pay attention to it or not? Mm-hmm. And I was actually literally having this conversation this morning with one of our clients who had reached out and said, hey, can I give you some unsolicited feedback about Brand Builders Group? And I'm a believer in feedback, even if it's not good. I want it, and luckily this was very good. And he just said, my feedback is this. And he's a doctor, mm-hmm. and he lives in Wisconsin, and he's got a really successful practice, and they're both trying to figure out better ways to market to surgeons in their education practice and also to their patients. He goes, here's the problem I keep running into. Everyone I associate with has a really negative connotation tied to a personal brand. And I said, really? Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
And he goes, I think you're excluding, you're eliminating, you're polarizing a huge part of the audience that you're meant to reach in life, because people don't want to have a personal brand. And it opened up this really interesting conversation, and I think it's just really timely, of let's don't be confused here, people. You already have a personal brand. Everyone has one. So it's not a matter of, do I want one or should I get one? It's, no, you have one. What is it? And I think a big part of that is people naturally associate personal branding with something that they don't understand, right? So they think it's only a personal brand if you have a large social media following, or you're kind of quote unquote classified as an influencer, which is a whole nother tangent I could get on if we wanted to.
Yep.
That it's like they're somehow tying personal branding to some sort of celebrity status, influencer status, social media, but they're tying it to a business model, right? They're tying it to a reach platform. And that has nothing to do with a personal brand. A personal brand is really just the intentional effort of building your reputation. And we all have one of those. It's a new trendy term for a very long, old, established a concept that is true 1,000 years ago and will be true 1,000 years from now, which is your reputation. What are you known for?
Yeah.
And I really believe, and more so ever today than ever before, we have the most ability today, the most influence today to craft the reputation that we want. People get more access to who we are than ever before if we allow it, right? And we have a lot of opportunity to become known for what we want to be known for, and to be known by who we want to be known by. The challenge is most people aren't really clear on what that is.
Yeah, that was my dilemma when I came to you guys initially, even though I thought I had a little bit more of a handle on it than maybe somebody who hasn't ever sat down at all and asked themselves certain questions, self-discovery questions in general about, like, what am I good at? What are my skills, talents, abilities? What do people compliment me for? What do people come to me advice for? Like, I had a little bit of that, but it was still hazy and vague. And you guys helped me to really dial that in, which has allowed me to make a more specific and larger impact with the people that I want to touch. But I think that's so true. What you just said is that we all have personal brands. You can use it, AKA your reputation. What are you known for? What do people say about you? What do they think of when they think of you? Whether that's online or in person in regular life. And in my work as well as a coach, I think these are the questions we have to ask ourselves. I was having a conversation last night with a friend who was a professional poker player for years, and was kind of known for being that, and then had another side thing with crypto and NFTs and all of that, and so sort of was playing in that realm a lot, and now is in a part of his life where he's like, yeah, I want to be known for something else, but I don't know what that is. And my encouragement to him was like, have you sat down? Like, have you just taken intentional, conscious time just to think about, just to dream about, what do you want your life to look like? Who do you want to be? How do you want to live it? How do you want to wake up every day? Like, what's the legacy you want to live? And that's a lot of what I think about in my work is, when I'm gone, what will I be remembered for? How will I have left the world a better place than I found it? My mission is to make a positive impact on the people that I come in contact with, where they're like, man, I'm better because I knew Tori, or I had that interaction, or because she was, the person I served at dinner, even as small as that, And so just asking the question, like, have we actually taken time to get clear about that, and recognize that we have the power to build an entire reputation around it and craft the lives and the futures and the impact that we want to make based on that clarity. And so it sounds like I'm not the only one who is struggling with it. I imagine a lot of people that come to you guys are, because you guys are the experts in helping us kind of get that clarity when things feel a little bit vague.
Well, I would just say it, and it's like the part that makes it sometimes challenging is that it changes and it evolves as it should, as you change and evolve. So this isn't one of those things that you can just sit down and do at one point of your life in your 20s and go, check, got that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, you are a very different human today than you were when you were in college or in your early 20s.
Right.
Or for me, it's like pre-kids. I'm a different human being than I was 5 years ago before I had my kids. And I think there's a huge part of it. And I always ask myself this, because I had a very dramatic, a very drastic career change when we started Brand Builders Group, and our lives were turned somewhat upside down. And I think we're so closely tied to reputation and personal branding, because it's our story and it's our truth. And in 2018, we had a pretty dramatic exit from our former company and our former partnership. And that's all I'll say about that. But it was just really sudden, and it was quite dramatic. And when we started over and we started Brand Builders Group, we built this whole thing on one thing: our reputation. And I don't think many people realize that when we launched Brand Builders Group, which isn't that old as a company, we've been doing this for a really long time as individuals, but as a company, we're only 4 years old. And we started in May of 2018. But when we launched our company in June of that year, we had no website. Neither of us had any social media following. We forfeited that in our departure. We lost our podcast. We lost our email list. In fact, my entire phone had about 3 contacts in it: my husband, my dad, and my mother-in-law. So when I talk about when we started over, and we had one thing, which was our reputation.
Right.
It was, what had we been doing for a really long time to position ourselves as who we are and what we believe and what we're doing and what we're passionate about. And it had always been about, how do we create more impact? How do we reach more people and share a message that we really feel like we were put on this earth to share? And we talked about it all the time, incessantly, annoyingly so, but enough so that a few people really associated us in that space. And a few is more than a few, but that was a really intentional effort of, this is what we want to be known for. Like, I want to be known for this. But at the time, I was known really most as a sales consultant. That's not what I wanted to be known for.
Yep.
Right? And it's like, although we had books and podcasts and we were doing all this really cool stuff that was more personal in nature, my full-time everyday job and where my money came from was sales consulting. And I remember when this whole exit happened, and I took a look in the mirror and I said, do I want to be known as someone who just helps companies grow their top line and bottom line? Does that fulfill me? As I'm looking at what does life look like in chapter 2, is that what I want to be known for? And the answer was absolutely friggin' not.
Yeah.
It is not. And you look up one day and you're like, wow, I've put my whole life into this one thing that as an individual I don't even believe in, but I'm really good at it, and I make a lot of money at it, and it's really comfortable, and it's really safe, and it's afforded me a lot of luxuries in life. And simultaneously I realized, because I wasn't living my own truth, my own uniqueness, I wasn't leaning into my own superpowers, I was really living someone else's life.
Yeah.
And I think the beautiful thing about personal branding, in my opinion, is it gives you the opportunity to reestablish your identity of going, this isn't something that's going to happen by default, right? When you leave the room, what do people say about you? And is it something that you've helped craft and influence, or is it something that happens by default?
Right.
Right? We've all heard that old saying, your reputation precedes you.
Yep.
Well, it does. And believe it or not, you get to influence that based on who you hang out with and what you talk about and what you share and what groups you're a part of, and what you put online, what you do interviews on, where you speak, how you show up. It's all the different things that are, compartmentalized on a day-to-day basis, but they all make up this overarching who am I? And I remember talking to my husband Rory about this at the time, as we were in the stages of what are we going to do next. And he goes, well, what do you want to be known for? And at that time I was like 35 years old, and I had no idea. What I knew is what I didn't want to be known for.
Right.
But we're people who live in this business, right? I'm the CEO of Brand Builders Group. It's like we help this with our clients every single day. And I was sitting there looking in the mirror going, I have no idea. I have no idea what I want to be known for. I don't even know like what I want to do every day right now. And so that's not one thing. It doesn't happen at one part. And I think that's really important for people to know. It needs to shift and it needs to evolve. And I think one of the most important things is it's not supposed to happen overnight. You're not going to figure out who you are and what you believe in, and you're not going to figure out your calling on your life in an hour workshop.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. But you can make progress in that. And the biggest lesson that I learned in this entire experience of defining like what do I want to be known for is more so than anything else is that, for me at least, is what made me comfortable was the number one thing that was holding me back. And it's like one of my life mantras right now is that your comfort will always hold you back from your calling. And until you really get clear on what's your calling, most of us just stay really comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, you're telling my story. Like this is exactly, the same experience that I had of looking at my life and being like, is this it? Is this what I want to be known for? Like, and also simultaneously knowing that it wasn't fulfilling and that I was kind of living and chasing someone else's dream. I think so many people listening to this can probably relate to that if they haven't gone through that personally. They might be going through that right now if they're not on the other side of it, or they might in the future. And I think you're so spot on with their iterations of this. Like this is something, and one of the reasons I love being part of Brand Builders Group is something I always am revisiting. I'm always seeing as like, is this still aligned? Is this still true for me? Is this still, what I'm feeling called to do as things grow and expand and evolve? And I think that's so important. So there's this factor of, yes, let's dial it in and define it, but let's also allow for flexibility and adaptation and change to come in as needed too. Like that we're not so attached to this is who I am and I have to be this for the rest of my life. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to want, for dinner, much less what I'm going to want in a year from now or like 10 years from now. So I love that. And I think we sometimes like understand, or maybe we don't even have the awareness to know how reputation impacts or influences how we see the world, how we make decisions, how we who we decide to be friends with or to work with or to like hire. You guys did something really interesting, which I have really enjoyed diving into, which is you did a study on this. You polled Americans to see what they really think and what's important to them in terms of personal branding and what that really means to them. I'd love for you to share some of that study and how you guys developed it and what were some of the takeaways from kind of interviewing and talking to other people about this space and how it impacts their lives.
Prepare yourself. I'm about to completely nerd out.
Let's go.
This is like, I'm so obsessed with information like this. I love data. And I love interpreting data, and I think a lot of it is because it's so easy to make assumptions in life today. Yeah. And I just love having some statistical proof behind some of this. And as I mentioned, Brand Builders Group is 4 years old, and about a year and a half ago, we said, man, if we're going to dedicate the rest of our lives to this, which is what we plan to do, we need to make sure that we're going down the right path, because it's like we're not going to make the same mistakes of our past, and we're going to be super clear on what is the state of this and what are the impacts and what does this mean. And so we did. So we went out and we did the very first ever national research study on the impacts of personal branding and what that means for Americans today. Like, how does that influence our purchase behavior? How does that impacting company and traditional advertisers? It's been really fascinating, but I think it's also important for people to know, like, this isn't like a research study that we did in our backyard or with our LinkedIn followers. We hired a team of PhDs. The company we hired was the Center for Generational Kinetics, because one of the things we wanted to be able to do was splice this data by the generations with kind of like the rising conversation on Gen Z of, well, what does that look like? And how do baby boomers perceive this to a millennial, to a Gen Xer, to a Gen Zer? So it's been really really fascinating. And at this point, you're going to have to like just cut me off to get a word in, because I'm going to really just dive in. This is amazing. Okay, I'll tell you the three most important things that stick out to me in this study, and then you can tell me what you want to talk about.
Sure.
So here's the first one. Is we have our own definition of personal branding, but we also wanted to know, how does the vast majority of Americans, view and define personal branding? And this was so revolutionary to us, because we had asked very normal things that most people associate with that, like large social media following, in the media, published author, podcaster, well-known profile, all the things. It was amazing. And what the majority of all Americans came back and said is that to them, a personal brand is just someone who is simply recognizable to them. That's it. And it was so surprising and validating at the exact same time, because the one thing that it did for us is remind us, at the end of the day, a personal brand and a reputation are the same thing. They are exact same thing. And, it's like, I think about this, it's like, doesn't matter if you're in small town America, the local pastor has a personal brand. Right. The local grocery store owner, they have a personal brand. Or you could be, J-Lo or Mr. Worldwide Pitbull himself. They too have personal brands. Yeah. And they are built and defined very differently, but they are the same. It is, you are simply recognizable to the people in your peripheral. And I thought that was really important for everyone to remember. You are recognized by someone every day in your life. Like, that happens everywhere you go, right? Someone is lumping you into some category everywhere you go, like it or not. It is happening. The thing is that we really do get a chance to influence it more today than ever, and personal branding. So to us, it's just the formalization, the intentional effort of designing your reputation. It's just that intentional creation of, well, this is what I want people to see when they see me. This is what I want people to think of when they think of me. Right. Yeah. And that takes work. That takes a lot of work. The second most fascinating thing of this study is that 74% of Americans said they are more likely to trust you if you have an established personal brand, i.e., you are recognizable to them. Again, both surprising, but then also not so much. So one of the other data points that came up during our study, there was another study going on about social media, and this study was done by Social Chorus. And I loved this data point, and I share it every single time. I'll give them credit. But I love this. They said that, this is fascinating to me, 95% of millennials, which I am one, so I'll throw myself in there. You are one, so I'll throw you in there. But 95% of millennials say that their most trusted source of product information is their friends. Y'all, that is terrifying. That is terrifying to think that my most trusted source of product information is my friends, who may or may know nothing, who may or not be any expert, who may just be passing along incorrect information from the next guy. And then it dawned on me, not only is this terrifying, it's fascinating, and it's 100% true. And I started comparing this study to our study, the Trends in Personal Branding, and then it hit me. It's like, well, of course our friends are our most trusted resource. They are the people who are recognizable to us, that we see, know, like, and trust. Of course they are. These are the people who have established reputations with us. They have established personal brands with us. And then I asked myself, if I was going to go and find a new hairstylist, would I Google it? Heck no. I'm going to find my girlfriend who's got the best hair and be like, girl, where you get your hair done? I need to know your stylist.
You took the thought out of my mind, because I've been traveling for the last couple months, I was telling you. And as soon as I got to Vegas, I was asking my girlfriends, who's your nail person? Who's your hair person? Because I don't want to go through the Google search. I don't want to do the research. And they've already had an experience that they can speak to and validate, and that's enough for me, around certain buying decisions. 1,000%. Yeah. That's
And
spot
but that's with everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I needed a new business coach, I'm not going to Yelp reviews or
No.
social media. I'm going to go to my friends who
Mm-hmm.
have had a business coach and go, who do you recommend? Tell me what you know about them. If I'm looking for a new CPA, right? I'm not typing in Nashville best CPA. I'm not doing that. I'm going my EO group, my friends, my other business owner entrepreneurs. Like, tell me who you use.
Yeah.
And those are the people who have personal brands and reputations. And this was still is the most important thing to me of realizing, although digital marketing is a huge presence in our life and in our decision making and in our purchase behavior, it's undeniable, right? Although social media is massive and it's not going anywhere, still today, even with all of that, most of our business truly still happens in an offline setting.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. So if I really, really wanted to, get the, recommendation of a business coach, I'm going to get it from my friend. Then I'm going to go to your website. Then I'm going to learn from you. But I'm not typically finding you organically.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really not, right? And so I thought it was a really interesting twist. It's not that we don't need social media. It definitely serves its purpose. You need a website. It serves its purpose. But truly today, it's like it's still being directed most often by offline relationships.
Right.
And I think it's a really important reminder of the more digital things get, the more we actually depend on the offline people in our life to help direct us.
Mm-hmm.
And when somebody thinks of your business, your service, they better think of you.
Right.
Otherwise, they're just going to be sending them somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so that leads me to the third favorite data point of this study, which we wanted to know, out of all the factors that Americans consider when hiring someone, what are the most important ones? And so we provided a list. You could select more than one, but we wanted to know what are the most important ones in order, right? So we asked things like, is it important that they have a really nice website?
Mm-hmm.
Is it important that they have a lot of content, a blog? Should they have a large social media following, any social media following? Should they be published? Should it be self-published traditionally, Wall Street Journal, New York Times bestseller? Should they have a podcast? Does it need to be a successful one? Should they have viral TED Talk videos? Do they need to be in the media? Should they be a speaker? I mean, the list goes on and on. Like, what are the most important criteria to you when deciding whom to buy from? Blew my friggin' mind. The number one thing that came back, 67%, more than 2/3 of Americans said that the number one thing that was most important to them when deciding whom to purchase from was whether or not they had testimonials. What? And it was like, what? And it's like, this is the cheapest, fastest, easiest thing that you can do. In fact, anyone who is listening to this can literally end their day to day with testimonials. Take that for a second and think about how long would it take you to give a TED Talk, much less make it go viral, launch a website, start a blog, write a book, much less have anyone buy it and read it. Even get featured on media, even get a podcast interview like this to get scheduled, do it, launch it. And how much time would it take for you to call up the clients who love and trust you the most and ask for them to write 2 sentences about you or make a 1-minute video? Mm-hmm. And it's the most important marketing tool you have. And what Americans are saying, what people are saying, regardless of where you live, is I want third-party validation that you are who you say you are and you do what you say you're going to do by people that look and feel like me, i.e. your customer. Back to, I want the trust factor.
Yeah.
I want someone else who seems to be in my shoes, who has my same problem, that has worked with you, that hopefully you have solved it somehow for them.
Right.
Give me that. And it was more important than having a nice website. It was more important than social media. It was more important than a book, a blog, content, podcasting, anything else. It was, do you have clients?
Yeah.
And did you help them?
Yeah.
And then are they willing to tell me about it? The end.
Well, it's fascinating because it's like, if I don't already have a friend who's referred me to you, right, that can speak to their experience and validate that this is a good decision, then I'll let third-party testimonials stand in the gap for that and serve as that. And so it goes back to the same thing, that I think point
Absolutely.
one is saying it's like we're looking for, I think that psychologically makes us feel safe in saying yes, because we know other people have also said yes and had a good outcome. And so
Yeah, and I'm going to be
as human
so not
beings,
alone.
yeah, we're
Right?
always trying to create safety and mitigate risk. And it's the way that we're trying to mitigate risk is through having someone else validate, have somebody else refer us, or looking for testimonials. And then everything else is icing on the cake. It's additional, it's bonus. It's like, yes, these check all the boxes. But if you have all of the beautiful things and bot followers and, canned stuff on your website, it looks good, but can you back it up?
Yeah. And it could look good, but does it actually help you build your business?
Yeah.
Most often not. And it's something you said made me think about this, but it's the same reason why influencer marketing is the enormous beast that it is today, is because companies started realizing this a long time ago, that the trust is held with the individual, not the company, right? Like, I mean, influencer marketing and brand deals are not new, y'all, right? I remember as a small kid watching Britney Spears and Michael Jackson in the Pepsi commercials, right? It's like they knew way back then, use celebrity endorsers. Like, this is not new. What has changed is the micro influencer, right? And what has changed is you don't have to be Michael Jackson or Britney Spears or whoever to have that same impact because of social media, because of technology. And it's like the reason why companies spend so much money with influencers is because they know that their audience trusts them.
Yeah.
And if they're willing to use the product and like it and tell their audience about it, their audience is much more likely to listen to them than the company itself.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And I've seen that play out in my business and with my friends in my buying decisions. I buy a lot of stuff because someone else is promoting it, or somebody I know, whether it's a piece, like something for my makeup drawer or my bathroom or whatever. I'm curious though, that trust is so important, right? Whether it's online or offline, but does that trust get diminished when we are, maybe even somebody like me, constantly or overly promoting products or services as opposed to sharing content about who we are, or what we're doing, what we're up to, outside of just like, hey, go buy this thing, or this is the thing I'm promoting this week? Does that trust does that take a hit?
I think that here's where I think it gets diminished: when you're no longer doing it in a truthful, honest, and authentic way. I think that's where it gets diminished. When it becomes about the business of marketing versus the passion of, this is a product that I discovered and I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
Right? If you find a new product like that every day, I think that your genuine nature would come through. But when it comes about, hey, I've got to make this many posts, and I've got to talk about this many things, and because it's all about my deal, then that's where it can easily override the trust factor that you have with your audience. And so I think it's important for us all to remember, it's like, at the end of the day, these people started following you because of you. And it's like, don't lose that. Yeah. Not what you do, who you are, right? They want to be on this journey with you. You inspire them, you motivate them, you inform them, you educate them, you relate to them, you entertain them. Don't lose that in the mix of, and hey, by the way, and I would say, be honest. It's like, hey, I love this product so much, I'm an endorser of it. Right? And it's like, I'll show you 50 ways to heaven of how I use it because I believe in it. And if you do buy it, I'm going to get paid for it. Like, it's like, I maybe wouldn't be that overt, but be that transparent of going, listen, there's no secrets here. Everyone knows. Yeah. So it's like, be honest about it. It's like, man, I'm an endorser of this product because I'm a believer of this product. Right. And I think the more selective that we are with those products and can go deep and wide with a few versus surface level with many, it creates a more authentic relationship with our audience too. Unless, maybe you have that personality where you find a new product every day. But there's some where it's like, I love some things so much, I can't help but talk about it, and I would do it even if I didn't get paid for it.
Right.
It needs to be that level of authenticity and passion. But at some point, if it's every day, you're going to wear your people out. I mean, It's the same thing with company marketing,
Exactly.
right? It's like if all you do is say buy, it can wear me down.
Yeah.
And here's one of the shifts that I will say that's been really fascinating in the market that we picked up during this study is 5 years ago, truly 5 years ago, the market expectation was, I give you money, you give me information. That is not the expectation today. The expectation today is, no, you give me information, I'll decide if it's valuable enough to give you my money.
Right.
And that is a very big shift in the marketplace and the overall demeanor of the consumer. They don't have to pay for it anymore.
Right.
It's like there's information galore between YouTube and Google and social and blogs. It's like podcasts, heavens to Betsy. You could get anything you want. It's, can you use it, right? So it's like we say all the time, people don't pay for information anymore. They pay for application.
Yeah.
They pay for, teach me how to do it in the right order so I can expedite it, right? As I want to shorten my learning gap. And I think that's a very big difference. So 5 years ago, it's like, you pay me money and then I'll give it to you. And now it's like, no. If you're not willing for me to sample it for free, get value from free, I'm not going to give you my money.
Yeah.
That is major shift in the marketplace of why trust and content creation is even more important today than ever before, not just for individuals, but for companies. Right? It's like, even as a company, it's like I think about some of the, the vendors that we have on a very basic level, like we use an outsourced accounting firm. I absolutely have an expectation that in addition to what I pay for, that they have a blog that functions, that they have a newsletter that functions, and that I don't have to go for them for every single tax law or QuickBooks change that happens. They need to be feeding that to me. That's an expectation I have, even though I don't pay for it. Because I know if they're not going to give it to me, someone else will, and I will take my services elsewhere.
Right. That's so true. I mean, I think there's a lot in what we just said, but like, for me, I think looking at the landscape of my audience in general and just social media presence as a consumer personally and a user of platforms, but also as a content creator, the towing that line of not becoming the marketing team of a company where it's like, oh, I'm just pushing product and I feel like I'm just a salesperson, like I'm just become a salesperson, and my followers feel that and they just feel sold to all the time, as opposed to speaking from an authentic, genuine place and letting that be, a byproduct of this is who I am, and so this is one of the things that I talk about, because there is that specific niche influencer too that is their reputation is, I'm a product review person. I just review products.
And that's their brand.
Right. That's their entire brand.
Different. Yeah.
And that's very different than someone like me who reviews products that I use, not for my entire brand. It's like, in addition to everything else I talk about, this is relevant because I use it for my podcast or for my, health and wellness or whatever. But also just follower fatigue. In terms of, why did people originally start following you, and then over time, because I've seen this a lot with other other content creators, am I still getting what I initially came here for? Why I initially started following you? Am I still getting that, or now has everything transitioned to something else? Because we see like a fall off of just follower fatigue, and it's like, this doesn't feel good anymore. And I'm curious, like, what do you think is the future of influencer marketing, of personal branding, as we move into even more technologically advanced times? Like, how do you think this is going to continue to play out and evolve?
Okay, well, I'll tell you my philosophical response to that. And I'll use a couple of examples. And, one of the things that I love about all of this, and one of the things that's also challenging is, right, I really do believe at the end of the day, and I can be right or wrong, but this is my truth, is that people fall in love with you, not what you do. And they care much more about who you are than what you do. And at some point, we stop doing that. We stop letting people get to know us. We stop helping them get to know us. And at the end of the day, it's like, I think about the people that I have followed for years, and it's because I feel like I'm a part of their life. I have seen them become single to married, married to parent, parent to graduate. I've seen them through businesses, through job changes, and it's like, and these are people that I follow. These are not my friends.
Right.
Right? So I think that's really important to remember. It's like, but there are people where it's like, I feel like I'm a part of their life. And there's a relationship factor. I think a little bit, I know this sounds silly, but it's like, I think about some of my very favorite shows on TV, right? And my very favorite show that's ever been created is Modern Family.
Love it. Yeah,
okay?
So good.
Modern Family went off the air, almost 2 years ago? I'm not exaggerating, Tori. I watch an episode every day. Before I go to bed, every night. It's how I calm my mind. I watch a 20-minute episode every single day. You can verify this with my husband. He's like, haven't you seen that 67 times? But it's like, I'm like, but I love them so much. Even though it's not on the air anymore, this helps me stay connected. It took me a year to watch the final episode because I didn't want to mentally admit that it was over. But it's like, you get so ingrained in the people, right? Right? The show, the life. We have to do the same thing online, and that means you've got to be more vulnerable. You have to allow people to get to know you. And what I have found, again, right, wrong, or indifferent, this is just my perspective, is that like if you go to my Instagram, I don't talk all that much about personal branding. I don't. I talk a lot about being a working mom. I talk a lot about my kids and the ups, downs, and beautiful parts of motherhood. I talk a lot about just stuff I'm doing. Like, my theme for the year is fun. I haven't had fun in a minute. And my year, this is fun. So it's like, this is how I'm having fun.
Yeah.
And I'm just letting you be a part of my life. And I just believe this to be true. And it's like, even in my microcosm example, it's like, I will post something that I will plan, and I will outline, and I will write it. And it's like, okay, here's what I'm going to teach today about building your reputation. And then I will post a picture of me and my 5-year-old riding the mechanical bull at the rodeo. Which one gets the most engagement?
Rodeo.
We already know.
Yeah.
The mechanical bull is going to win every time. And I think a part of that is because it's like, there's a level of just seeing what life looks like and being attached to other people. And the other thing that I just fundamentally believe is that you don't have to be on every platform. You don't have to be everywhere. You need to be exactly where your audience is, and you need to be in tune with that. I think one of the challenges today is that we try to serve a whole bunch of different masters, and we think we have to be on every single platform to be successful, and that's not true.
Yeah.
I really believe that's not true. You need to be on the platforms where your audience is. You need to be on the platforms that you can commit to be consistent and engaged. And maybe that means it's one platform. Maybe it's 2. Maybe it's 3. But I doubt it's all of them. I doubt it's all of them in a deep, authentic, relationship-oriented way. And so one of the things that I've just realized about myself, it's like, I get to choose the platforms that I want to be on, regardless of what what statistics say, or what digital marketers say, or what Facebook Meta says. It's like, I actually get to choose, and my job is to know my audience. My job is to know who I am and who my audience is, and to really determine what they want from me, what they need from me, and to make the decision to serve those people where they are.
Yeah.
And I know for me, it's like, I have 2 platforms. I am on Instagram for all things real life. And then if like you want to learn from me, go to LinkedIn. Yeah. And I've given up the pressure of trying to be everywhere and be all things to everyone, because I was not doing it well.
Yep, it's so true. I mean, I have been there and felt that pressure, felt that just, which was unnecessary. It was just like self-inflicted in so many ways. It's just like, how can I be present and engaged and here with the people that are here where I am, and just be here now, wherever I am. If that's on Instagram, like, be here and be fully here with these people, as opposed to like just trying to infiltrate everything and doing, less of a good job at it. It's just watered down, and if people can feel it. And I've seen that over the course of the last couple years in my own business too. And it's like, how can I just double down with more intentionality and more presence where I am? And that's, I'm going to make such a bigger impact there than just trying to be all things to all people. I love it.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like you're winning, you're killing it on TikTok right now. And it's like you are doing such a phenomenal job in there. I do not have an account there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And both of us are winning.
Yep.
And I think that's a great message to everyone.
Exactly.
It's like, I don't have an account. That's okay. You know, and the other thing is, I think too, like kind of back to this, like how do we keep people around? And it's like one of the things I do believe, it's like you got to keep things fresh.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you do evolve, so should your content. Right? The design, look, feel, all those things should evolve.
Yeah.
Right? It's like we got to keep it fresh. We have to keep it interesting. I don't watch the same episode of Modern Family every night.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? And I have how many 200 episodes to choose from.
Right?
I don't watch the same one. There's some variety, but there's also some familiarity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we're looking for, is both, are you still the person that I fell in love with, that I'm like, I will give you my time and attention. Mm-hmm. You're giving me something I need. And then am I keeping it fresh for you? Yeah. The other thing I would say, last thing, and I think this is really important too, don't be vanilla. Don't be neutral. And that's hard. Because I know that we live in a world right now where everyone's trying to be PC.
Yeah.
That's not what people need.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, I don't need one more person trying to be all things to everybody. I need someone who's going to be willing to speak some truth, and it has to be okay if I don't agree with
Mm-hmm.
it. Because guess what? I don't have to follow you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to hate on you. I don't have to not like you. All I have to do is not follow you.
Right. Yeah.
Y'all, I can totally be okay with us being completely different and still living in this world.
Yeah.
We're going to be all right. And we got to be okay with people feeling that way about us too.
Yeah.
I am fully aware that not everyone agrees with what I agree with and what I believe, and I got to be okay with that too. But if that's the thing that's going to hold me back from my own life and my own truth, that's my problem.
Right. Yeah.
And I got to let that go. It's like back to, it's like your comfort is what will hold you back from your calling. Right. And it's like I get asked one question more so than any other question when it comes to social media. And it's really fascinating. And I wasn't even aware that I was doing it because I'm just being me. But I have been asked this question more so this year than ever before in my life. And they've said, well, you sure do post a lot about like your faith and God and Jesus on social media. Don't you think that can be offensive? Mm-hmm. And my response is, well, if I'm going to be disliked for something and I'm going to offend somebody, I prefer it to be for that. Mm-hmm. And you got to take a stand of going, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, maybe it does. They should not follow me. That's okay. And I didn't notice that I had increased my natural posting of that. That's just where I am in my life. Mm-hmm. And it's been really fascinating to go. I'm surely lost lots of people, but I have gained way more.
Yeah.
I have more conversations that are true and authentic about this topic than ever before. I have more people going, well, can you tell me like what's your stance and like how did you overcome getting uncomfortable about it? Or so you talk about it at work. Can you tell me about that? I've invited conversations that are at the truth of who I want to be and what I want to be known for that were never happening before in my life just because I stopped being scared of what someone else is going to think.
Yeah.
That is so important. And you got to be okay to lose people because when you do, you make space to gain the right ones.
It's so true. And you're spot on in terms of just people are afraid to be polarizing. They're afraid to be canceled. They're afraid to, have a stance or speak out on any topic because what if that means it at the end of the day, what we're talking about is reputation and that people come because to your point, they like who you are, not just what you do. And if you withhold certain things about who you are, you prevent people from knowing
absolutely
who you are.
I mean, like they don't actually ever get to know you.
Yeah. They love the version of you that you're willing to put out there, which is not authentic, which is only a half-truth. You know what I mean? And I think at the end of the day, whether we're talking about business or personal life or whatever, we all want to be loved and accepted for who we are, but that also requires us to be courageous enough to show who we are. And that, to me, is why we follow the people that we follow is because, we have similar values, or we have similar things that like we're going after, similar interests, but like, I know where AJ stands on this, and I'm not confused. I'm not in the dark. Brene Brown says, clear is kind. Yeah. Being clear about where you stand, being clear about your intentions or what you want or what you're asking for is kindness. Being vague, being like, we don't feel safe with those people.
It's confusing.
It's confusing. And so the more that we get to know ourselves, I think at the end of the day, and bottom line is this: in order to show who we are, we have to know who we are. And we can be in that process of unfolding and learning, but share that journey with people. Share the journey, because you're telling the story of who you are as you discover it. And that's beautiful, and that's relatable, and people are figuring that out, all the time. Because the people that you lose, if you lose them for that reason, right, they're not your people, or they were there for what you do, possibly not who you are, and that's okay. You're going to find more of those people too. So I absolutely love this. This is fascinating information just around like the human psyche and how we make decisions and choices to do the things that we do, especially online, because that's where we spend so much of our time these days. And I know we all are yearning and longing for more authentic connection everywhere, especially in the online space, and how we can make the impact that we want to make in the world. I think we've got a link to the study if people want to grab it and dive into it themselves. We've got it at brandbuildersgroup.com/study-Tori. We're going to put that in the show notes. But AJ, if you would, like, tell people how they can find you, how they can find out more about Brand Builders Group if they are listening and they're like, hey, I might need to like get involved. I need to see if they can help me. I've got, a mission, a message that I want to get out in the world, and I want to broaden that. Where would you send people?
Yeah, well, I would say I know that we have a link for just your audience.
Yes.
And I know that you'll put
the free
that
brand call.
Yeah, the free brand call link. Just put that in the show notes. It's freebrandcall.com/Tori.
Tori Gordon.
Tori Gordon.
Yep.
And here's what I would say. It's like building your personal brand is a journey of self-discovery. It is a journey of discovering who you are and discovering what you want to be known for in this world. It's a part of establishing your legacy of what do people say about you when you're not in the room? What are going to people say about you when you're gone? And while you're here, it's how can we help you increase your impact? And as a byproduct of that, if that increases your income, icing on the cake, right?
Yeah.
But it's like we believe it's you focus on serving other people, the money will always come. But we're a company that's helping you figure out what your message is. And so what we've set up for you guys, listeners of this podcast with Tori, is that if you want to check it out, we're not afraid to give it away for free. It's like we want to give it away for free. So you can schedule a free personal brand strategy call with someone on our team, and it is a strategy call. The calls go from anywhere from 40 to 60 minutes, and the first half of that call is literally going to be like, tell me where you're at. Tell me what your dreams are. Tell me where are you at in this progress? Where are you stuck? What are you struggling with? What are you trying to accomplish? And then we're going to walk through that journey with you. This is a true sample of what we do and who we are at Brand Builders Group, because what we know is that we're not a fit for everyone, and we're okay with that. But we're willing to do this call with anyone who requests, because we also know exactly who we're a fit for. We know who we were meant to serve and who we're built to serve. And the part of that is helping us find those great matches. If we're not a match, we will send you off with free resources for days. We got no lack of free resources.
Yeah.
But this is a chance for you to take that first step of going, man, like, this is a different way of looking at personal branding. It's really about my reputation, and do I have the one I want? And can I build one that can help me grow my impact and income? So go to freebrandcall/Tori Gordon, request a call, and we'll schedule one with our team.
Yeah, that's the golden ticket. That's the question to ask, and they've helped me. You guys have helped me so much of the last year, and I just re-upped because I'm like, I'm going to be hanging out with you guys as long as you'll let me. I mean, I have no plan on slowing down. I've got, a lot of things that I'm excited to work towards and achieve this year that, this audience will get to be part of that journey. And Just thank you. Thank you for your voice and your mission and how you show up and being an example for us, and for spending some time with me today. And we're going to let you go off to be a mom, be a CEO, do all of the things. You guys go check out AJ. If you love this episode, if you got a ton of value, which I know that you did, take a screenshot, tag us on social media. You can find AJ at
AJ_Vaden.
There we go. AJ_Vaden. I'm Coach Tori Gordon, as you know. And if you go to Apple or Spotify and leave a 5-star rating, if you believe it's worth it, and a authentic review, we care about your feedback. You take a screenshot of that and send it to support@torigordon.com. Our team will send you a link to get access to my Find Your Purpose workshop for free. And we want to give that as a gift to you guys as a supporter of this show and making it available to so many more listeners. I appreciate you. Love you. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time on the Coachable Podcast.